Welcome back to the series where I 100% every game in Roblox. And today I'm doing Block Tales, mainly because a lot of people have been requesting it. So if you want me to play a game, comment, and I will do the top comment, only if it is actually possible, without spending a year playing. Anyways, let's get started. With 41 badges, excluding the to demo badges, because I started in demo 3, and I also can't get the outrageous builder badge, because at the time of recording this, it is unobtainable. These badges could range from simply creating an account, to beating the hardest boss on hard mode. So here's how I did it. From just joining I got to badges. After leaving the hotel, I made my way to Roblox HQ, where I had to find Shadelsky. However, there were enemies along the way, and I had to throw a ball to eliminate them. After a while of defeating monsters, I made it to Shadelsky, getting beat up, so I had to save him. After helping Shadelsky, he gave me a sword which could be used with the power stab card I also got. This was gonna be my main strategy later in the video. After defeating more enemies, I finished the prologue which gave another badge. Eventually I made it to the cave where I realized one thing. Playing with other people made the game too easy. So I decided from now on that I would do the entire challenge on my own. Starting from chapter 1, I beat the Queen Mosquito easily and made it to Road Town, where someone told me about the Ice Dagger, one of the 3 swords I will have to collect on my journey. But first I had to find the mayor, and after talking to him for 10 minutes, I was able to get my adventure ID. Next I had to make it to the castle, so I got a cookie from Betsy and prepared for the journey. After finally making it into the castle, I first had to talk to prisoners to get a code. This gave me a key for a door. I then had to use my ball to knock down pillars and dynamite to blow up rocks. I continued through the castle while fighting guards along the way and even died in the process. But eventually I made it to the next mini-boss, the sentient statue. This part was easy, but there was still a whole other part of the castle. At the kitchen, whatever this has happened, and I got the shrink card. This let me fit into a small hole with another key. With it, I was finally able to fight the boss. After beating the boss, I leveled up and then got the ice dagger. This was the end of chapter 1, and I had to go back and find Shadelsky again. This time, he taught me how to use the ice dagger. But next he wanted me to find the venom shank, the second of 3 swords that I would need to get, and it started by flying a plane over to Plainsville. And after defeating some more enemies, I made it to the ant hill, where I had to shrink down and fight some mosquitoes. Here I also found a box. It would be useful later as I would need to collect 30 of them for a batch. But anyways, eventually I made it through the ant hill and made my way through the jungle with many more enemies. I had to make my way to Turritopoulos. So it turned out that the mayor was in trouble, and I had to chase after the person holding them hostage. After there was more fighting, and more dying, more fighting, and then more dying. But I finally made it to the first mini-boss, the Komodo dragon. It was easy as I beat it while starting already weakened. But this boss was the one that hurt me the most in the entire game, as I made a fatal mistake later in the video. But for now I got rocket boots to fly over short spaces. And after a while I encountered something that I thought might be a boss. So I turned hard mode on since there was a badge for beating the bosses on hard mode. So I thought this was a good time to start, and completely forgot about the Komodo dragon 5 minutes ago that I beat on normal mode. And let's just say that hard mode was not easy, as it literally had me avoiding enemies because of the threat of death. But anyways, it was time for the first fight against the griefer. Who would have thought hard mode would actually be hard? After beating the griefer, he ran through some plants, so I had to find something that could break them down. And after solving a little puzzle, I found the iron sword. But Bigfoot seemed to have other plans. As I was trying to find Bigfoot, I had to fight more enemies and traverse more obstacles along the way. I had to hit a tree in order to start the fight. Surely this will only take a few tries, right? Now with that out of the way, here's where I actually did it. With the iron sword, I was able to clear new paths, which led me to the toucan puzzle. For this I had to pull the vines in a specific order in order to open the door. In here it was basically just a tower with enemies everywhere, and all I had to do was make it to the top. At the top was the griefer. This took around 8 tries and was only phase 1 of the boss. Next, the griefer turned into the bubonic plant, and let's just say it did a lot of damage. It took a few tries to realize that I wasn't ready for this, so I started farming for experience to level up, which could boost my health or other things, until I finally did it. After beating it, I thought I was supposed to get the badge for beating it in hard mode, but I did a little research and found there was a secret mosquito boss as well. It took a few tries, but I managed to defeat it, and also got another badge. But there was still a problem, because it turned out because of the Komodo dragon fight earlier, I couldn't get the hard mode badge, meaning that I wasted all that time for nothing. So I decided to make a new game that I was gonna do in hard mode, and use my old one to get the rest of the badges. But first I had to fight Terry, and let's just say that it's not gonna go well. Well, it was worth it, I guess. Next, by using a bomb on for enemies, I get another badge. And by going behind a waterfall in Road Town, there's another badge. With 10 out of 41 badges, there was some work I needed to do, so I popped someone's balloon with my sword. Next, by going to the Guru, I could get another badge. Also, by doing this, I could fight a memory of the cruel king, and by beating him 5 times, there is another badge. And after a little cutscene, I was given the badge. However, there's something I didn't tell you. Earlier, when I first got the dynamite, I ended up saving someone that was trapped. Now I found them again and they gave me pizza. Next, by going in the library, you can rearrange your stats for another badge. Back in the castle in the prisoner area, by putting a bomb by the sleeping guard, you can get another badge. This next badge was arguably one of the longest, as I had to complete the entire pit, which was basically 40 floors with enemies on each, and the lower you go, the harder the enemies. With those badges done, I decided to finish the story in chapter 3 to get those badges. This time I had to ride a train to Telemon's Manor. After boarding, I decided to get some sleep, but it was interrupted by a group of bandits. They weren't much of a problem until I got to the front of the train. Firstly, I helped Red and Blue from earlier to fight some bandits. Then Green and Purple came to fight as well. Nubador thanked me, and then I arrived in Spooky Town, where Red and Blue gave me a calling card, which I would not be using. This next badge, I had to deal 12 damage in one hit. Firstly, by hitting the enemy, I get +1 damage. I have equipped 3 sword boost for another +4, and the charge card for another +1. And finally, by eating a pepper and an apple pie, I get +4, totaling up to 12 damage. Now I had to make my way to the manor. After entering, I was given a tour of the manor, and after following the butler into a portal, the manor was haunted. And when I went down into the basement, there was a turkey, and it's basically still Thanksgiving, so you know, I chopped it up. I then found the haunted kitchen, and the chef asked me to find the spider cider. However, I got lost and found a different item. I then found the quiz noob and answered a few questions to get the spider cider. When I went back to the chef, I already had all the items: the turkey dust and the spider I just got. The chef gave me the ghost potion, which could be used to phase through things. Then I had to match some statues with the paintings. In here, the slasher came out of nowhere. After defeating the slasher, I retrieved the hyperbole. Then I explored the catacombs, and then used my hyperbole to break the floor and found the ghost walker. And when I touched it, I got sent to Dream World, where Builderman greeted me and told me to cleanse my soul with him. I was led to avarice and had to navigate through my mind. This brought me to a bunch of ticks and also greed. Its attacks were pretty easy to dodge, so I was able to take it down. Builderman then told me to give into isolation, and after traversing my mind again, there was a puzzle in order to get to solitude. Anyways, there were 4 symbols on the ground, and each one meant a direction, and whenever a symbol popped up, I had to walk in that direction, which then brought me to solitude. And just like greed, the attacks were easy to dodge, so I beat it, which brought me to the next boss, fear, where I had to traverse my mind again. But this time the puzzle, I had to go the opposite direction the arrow was pointing. Fear transformed from a tree. This time I used the cruel king summon I got from earlier to help me beat this boss. With him I was able to beat Fear, but Builderman was acting weird, and it turned out that he was another boss called Hatred. Just like the other bosses, I had to do a minigame where I had to use my ghost potion to avoid the attacks from Hatred. Then it was time for the final boss of the game. But before I show you where I won, here's where I messed up. I had full health and Hatred was half health, but Hatred charged up, and I didn't know I was supposed to use my ghost potion. So I took 60 damage. I was able to heal in time, because I had a lot of health. I was about to finish it off, but I was concussed, so I hit myself, which led to my death. But anyways, here's where I won. After defeating Hatred, I claimed the Ghost Walker and completed Chapter 3, which was nothing since I had to beat it on hard mode still. But for now I'm going to be getting the other 18 badges. First, I asked the chef to cook up a mistake for me, then I used it in a battle and instantly died. Next, by going back to the library, I could get another badge for maxing out my build points. By going back to the anthill and going to the room where they were watching TV, all I had to do was ask them to turn it down. Back in the ice cave in Chapter 1, there's a secret tunnel to the ant hangout. In the arcade, in a specific machine, there's the Jeep minigame where you have to get a score over 90. Next, I had to die to a purple frog, a monster that literally just runs and doesn't attack. To do this, I had to find one with a bomb, and hope that it uses it to kill me. Next, I had to get all the sound effects from the megaphone. Then I had to save a teammate from dying. Then I had to beat Cruel King without taking a single hit. The next 8 badges were from collecting items, bucks, and cards. Starting with collecting 30 bucks, I started with 17, so I would need 13 more. Since I got the badge for collecting 30, that also meant that I have the badges for getting 10 and 20. Now I had to collect 45 cards, so I talked to the sketchy figure to bump my total up to 44. For the last card I went to Ty's shop and bought Comatose. Once again I got 3 badges, one for collecting 15, 30, and 45 cards. Finally I had to collect 100 different items, starting at 60. This gave me another 2 badges. Then I had to get all 10 fish for another badge. The last fish was a whale, with a 1 in 396 chance of getting. It took me over an hour to do so. Next I had to beat all the bosses on hard mode, starting with chapter 1. I also got a badge for not saving the person stuck from earlier. Anyways, next up is chapter 2. And I'm not going to be beating the mosquito boss, since it's a secret one and doesn't count. And finally, chapter 3. After beating Hatred on hard mode, I had gotten every available badge in Block Tales. Comment down what you want me to do next, and sorry for not uploading in a while.